purposely invite the rock and roll element into our community?
Well, what's wrong with a little entertainment?
Entertainment is fine, but this... we have lots of big acts that come through here. Ice Capades, Tiny Toons, Kenny G.
Kenny G.
Dr. Bones, Dr. Bones, Dr. Bones.
Good afternoon, this is Dr. Bones Live, and today my guest is the man responsible for that intro. Welcome, Lord Numb, to the show.
Hi, good to speak to you at last, Dr. Bones.
It's been a while, and thank you so much for being on the show, man. I've really been looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too.
Just first off, like I said, thank you again for that intro, because that's awesome. Everybody loves it, including myself, and it's one of those things, I kind of wish I had like a drum set to kind of just give it an actual couple of drum beats at the very end. Just the way it kind of tapers off. Is when
yeah. Well, I'll do you another one as well, because it's good fun doing those little intros and things. So I'll do you another one.
All right. I know. Either way, I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for sending the T-shirt, the badge, and then the CD for me.
Well, that's all I can do. So say thank you to you for all your support, Dr. Bones. It's been amazing.
Well, I know what, I have no problem promoting great music like yours, and I've really enjoyed it. So first off, to get started here. Lord Numb, where did the name come from?
Well, it's a little bit of a play on words with regards to an old Victorian drug of choice called Lord Numb.
Okay.
Which is kind of like an opium derivative that Victorian gentry were quite fond of, and Byron and various other people. So it's a kind of opium tincture that was called Lord Numb. So somewhere along the line, Lord Numb came from Lord Numb. So that's where that comes from.
Oh, right. Okay. It's such a unique name. Now, for as far as your songwriting goes, the composition, production, the whole sort of thing, each song is so different, and you're literally all over the place, and that's in a good way. I mean, you have so many different genres kind of jam-packed into one tune. Like, what kind of gave you the idea to kind of start kind of recording and writing these sort of songs?
Well, when I do the actual recording, Lord Numb is just me on my own. So everything is played by me. So all the drums are programmed, the synthesizers are kind of sequenced, but I try and sort of maintain a kind of live element to it. So all the guitars and bass and percussion and obviously the vocals are live. So everything that is actually recorded is just me, just one person on my own. So it's just basically channeling all my years of listening to music kind of into one conduit, as it were, like everything I've ever listened to just kind of comes out. I never sit down and try and write a song in a certain style. It just seems to happen that way.
And that's what I like about the music. Like you said, I never know what to expect from one song to the next, and that's what makes music so interesting to me, because there's so much depth to it, and just there's so much kind of compact, like right into one tune. So it's fun to listen to, because not necessarily just to kind of see if I can like hear some of the influences, but just in general to kind of try to follow where you're going.
Yeah, well, I always try and keep things simple, but I end up kind of layering things. So I start off and I think, okay, I'm going to write a song and it's only going to have kind of bass and drums, or it's only going to have, maybe 4 elements, and it tends to get layered and layered. And I think it's because I've got quite a sort of, I'm quite impatient, and I get bored easily, and I need things to keep exciting me, So I try and make as many interesting noises and many, interesting things within one song. And some people have a problem with that. I've heard that from some people. They have a trouble with my music because they can't pigeonhole it. It doesn't. I don't think it fits easily into a category. Well, which is, for me, that's good. I don't want to be kind of aligned with one particular type of music, but some people seem to have a problem with that, in that I don't fit into a genre as such.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but you know what? For myself personally, I don't see that as an issue at all. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's nice not to kind of stamp a label on it, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's definitely where I'm coming from. Because again, that's another kind of sticking point, because people are always asking you, the first thing people ask is, so what type of music do you do? And it's very difficult to describe it, because, it does have so many different elements to it and so many different influences going in there that it's quite difficult to actually describe it,
Well, exactly. But no, and like I said, that's like, most people should kind of be open to that as opposed to closed off, because that's a lot of times what makes the best music, when you can't narrow it down. Because I mean, there are some people that I guess can't go through go through music without having like a stamp label on it, and I'm completely open to the idea of not having an actual label, just because you never know. Like I said, you never know what you're going to get. And for the most part, a lot of times that's the best music when it comes out, when there's no necessarily rhyme or reason to it. Yes, you can hear an influence here or there, but it still makes for a good song, because it's interesting, because it's especially for me, a lot of listeners, like have a lot of followers who like love your music, and just because we don't know what you're going to do next, and that's what makes it interesting and exciting, because there's so many possibilities, and there's still like tons of them, and that's, like I said, from one song to the next, so it makes a huge impact. Yeah, well, I mean, I think I would actually really dislike having a label attached to me anyway, because then, if you did anything outside of the label, then you're going to kind of distance people that like that particular genre. So it's quite nice that I don't have a label. Well,
basically, it means I can kind of do what I want, really, which is kind of what I do anyway.
I tell you, for myself personally, that I haven't been completely close-minded to some things, but once I started doing the show and listening more and more different types of music, it kind of opened my eyes a lot more, because before it was kind of narrowed down to just like mainstream. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a top 40 guy by any means at all. So, but like with some of the rock I listen to, it's cool, and it changed up a little bit, but there's so much other good stuff out there that I didn't either give it a chance, or I did, but I kind of just didn't keep an open mind about it, because it seemed too kind of repetitive and the same thing to me. But once I started doing,
I try not to be. I mean, even from when I first started music, when I was really young, I've never been. I've always been open to different types of music. I mean, when I was in my teenage years, I was really into kind of classic kind of rock stuff,
right?
But I would always like if a really good pop song came on the radio. It might have been ABBA or Boney M or something. I wasn't ashamed to put my hand up and say that's an amazing song. Because to me, music comes from all different areas and from all different types of people, and I don't think it's a good thing to be blinkered in any way. So I think that's found its way into my music, because I do listen to lots and lots of different types of music, and it's not, there's not one type of music I'm particularly adhered to. I like all music, really.
For the most part, I do too. The only music I don't like, I respect the artist, but I can't get into, is like I can't do country. I've tried, but I can't do it.
See, I quite like country music. I mean, when I was, again, I think probably my parents were a bit of an influence around that because my mum liked country music quite a lot. So I grew up listening to country. But no, I've got quite a soft spot for country music actually.
Well, like I said, I respect the artists. I just can't get into the music. But I know the talent is there, and I can hear their guitar playing and their vocals and their lyrics. I mean, I know the talent's there, and I respect that part of it. But I personally, I've tried. I can't really sit down and like listen to it and actually enjoy it without saying, like, well, it's all right. But I just no, I can deal with being background music or a lot lower than it already is volume wise.
Well, the only perhaps genre I would say that I do struggle with is opera, and I've tried really hard to get into opera because I as I said earlier, I really want to open my mind to all types of music. I want to kind of let that kind of seep into everything I do, but I find opera quite difficult, and I've been to a few operas and I've tried to get it. Some of it I like, but it's still not quite. I think it's just one of those things that's never really going to connect with me. I mean, I was a bit like that with classical music when I was younger, but I've grown to really admire rather than like, I think, classical. I mean, some classical music I absolutely love, but just the actual mechanics of writing a classical piece of music is just mind-blowing. How somebody can sit down and write an hour-long piece,
right?
For like 50 instruments is beyond my imagination. I don't know how you can do it.
Yeah, no, that is quite a bit.
It takes everything I've got just to write it with a guitar and a computer.
Right.
Incredible, really.
No, again, though, absolutely good point. And you know what? I never actually thought of it, but I never thought of it that way. To be honest with you.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, the complexities in a proper classical piece when you've got so many instruments all playing something different. That's an amazing thing to do. Maybe one day I'll write a classical piece. I don't know.
Yeah, well, anything's possible, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, we're going to take a quick little break here, and we're going to listen to a song by you called "The Ghost of Divers." Now, I know there's a video for this as well, correct?
Not for Ghost of Divers, no. The only video at the moment... Well, no, there's a couple of videos. There's one for Whistle and I'll Come to You.
Right.
And there's one for a really old song I did called 2045, which is an animated video.
Okay.
But I'm in the process, actually, with my bass player, which we'll talk about the band a bit later, because when I play live, I have a band. But we're talking about doing a video for a new tune anyway, so... But at the moment, no, there's not a video for this one.
Right, okay, right on. I remember a few of them. I wasn't sure if there was one for this or not. So either way, I mean, they can check out the other videos. But for now, we're going to check out a cool song by Lord Numb. This one's called "The Ghost of Divers."
Great, thanks.
Off and count to 3. Turn around and jump into the sea tonight. Take a breath and hold your nose. Dive down to